welcome to Helen Joy Creates. I have my Scrawlrbox. I'd noticed that some people already had received theirs yesterday, so was very excited that it arrived in the post today. So before we open up, let's have a look as to some clues as to what's in the box. So here's the Scrawlzine with a lot of scrawly bits all over it. And then we have here the artist's picture. We've got Ayman Hazzouri, also known as Calligrapaint. So you can look him up on Instagram and Facebook. So a Syrian artist and who uses the inspiration of letters and writing for his art. So let's see what's in the box. We have a Scrawlrpad, 20 sheets of 140 GSM cartridge paper in a long, thin book. So fairly decent cartridge paper, sort of checkbook style. So it's about a quarter size of an A4. And then we have our sweet Uncle Joe's mint ball and gluten-free, which is very handy for me because I am gluten-free. Then we have the sticker and a pencil, a Koh-I-Noor Hardtmuth B pencil. Then we have the Centropen Liner 2811F, which is a fine nib, kind of rubbery end, similar to that of like a handwriting pen that you might have had at primary school. Then we have the Kuretake Fude twin tip marker. So it's a black fibre brush tip and then a grey, and it's a slightly more rubbery tip on the grey side. Then we have our big pack of Manuscript Calli Creative Flexi markers. So these have got chiselled nibs and useful for calligraphy and handwriting, as well as I guess just general marker pens. So they're a non-toxic water-based ink. You can see there the chiselled end, and because it's quite a long thin end, it makes it quite flexible. Please do excuse the state of my hands. I had gesso on them from trying to paint something earlier. So our Scrawler challenge is Asemic Aesthetic, using lines and symbols that look like writing but do not have any meaning relating to the enjoyment or study of beauty. And so it says that this month's box theme is calligraphy, but using the lettering skills to create art. So this looks like it could be interesting, and we have quite a range of colours in our box here. So let's have a bit of a test of these products. So first up, let's try the Koh-I-Noor Hardtmuth pencil. I actually thought it was a hard pencil, so it's saying that it's a B grade, but it was quite hard and not that dark. I would actually compare it to maybe a 2H pencil from other pencil brands that I own. So yeah, I wasn't so sure about it. I found it a bit scratchy. Anyway, here is the Kuretake Fude twin nib marker. This is the black. It was quite a soft fibre nib, and yeah, as you can see, I don't do calligraphy and I'm not so used to using brush nibs, but as you can see, you can get a mixture of thick and thin lines with that. And then the grey end was a much more bouncy nib, I could get a much finer line with it. What I found interesting was the way that it laid ink down. It almost was like a water paint brush, just sometimes it was a lot darker and sometimes a lot lighter, and I had a bit of a play around and couldn't always distinguish when it would be a lighter or darker colour. It didn't necessarily go darker when I pushed down for longer. It just seemed to be the flow of the ink was different at different points. Anyway, here's the Centropen Liner, which was a very fine liner pen. Again, the nib, it's not your normal type of fine liner, it was more of a kind of rubberized tip, like a handwriting pen. But you did get a really nice fine line from it. Right, so now for the marker calligraphy pens. The colours were really vibrant and bold. I really did like the amount of ink that came out. As you can see, you can get quite a thick line and a thin line from the angles of the nib, depending how you use them, and it was a very soft nib, so you could probably have quite a lot of practice and play around with the amount of pressure as well as the angle that you put the nib at. So let's have a look at the other colours. I'm just going to use the back of the paper. As you can see, it's not really bled through at all. You can see a little bit of ghosting, but not bad at all considering how juicy these pens are. So let's have a look at these colours. Again, they're just such nice bright colours. I really like the ink in these pens. So you can see here, just tried to blend it a little bit, and they did seem to mix really nicely. I really liked the colour and the shape of the nib and the softness of them. I think the only thing I was maybe not so happy with is how chunky the markers are. I mean, that's fine if you want them as big markers for doing artwork or large lettering, but if you were wanting to do some writing and calligraphy with them, I think they're just a bit too chunky for doing any sort of delicate, smaller, normal size writing, but maybe great for like a poster size. As you can see here, the colours are blending really nicely and just lay down really well, and like I said before, I just, the colours are so bright, and that lighter green is almost like a neon green. I think you can see here from the way the light reflects on the ink how wet these pens are. So I did realise later when I was doing my drawing that I was tending to smudge it, so just to be aware of that. I then wanted just to take the Kuretake pen just to compare the black and the grey colours with the marker pens. So again, like I said, with the Kuretake nib, sometimes it came out lighter and sometimes it came out darker. So the darker colour did match with the marker pen, but then you also had that slightly lighter colour. You can see here I was playing around to see if the speed that I used the pen would change the colour, but I couldn't figure out what actually made it change. Anyway, thought we would have a little go at the pens and try to make something. Decided I might try some butterflies. I realised after I started sketching that it's been a long time since I've drawn a butterfly, and I couldn't really remember properly how the shape of the wings went. I know that sounds really silly, but yeah, just trying to get the angle of the wings straight. So you'll have to excuse my first attempts and the weird shapes that I came out with, but it was, anyway, it was a good way of just experimenting with the pens a little bit. I found this challenge quite difficult, and I kind of felt like I just ended up using the markers to colour in the butterfly. So then I thought I would try and use the liner pen just to try and do my pretend writing, I guess, is what the Asemic Aesthetic challenge was. So just did some wiggly lines. I find it's almost harder to not write, and I was very tempted to actually write some words in there, but anyway, this is my first attempt and seeing what I could come up with. One thing that I did notice was that the liner pen, when I used it on top of the marker pen ink, did bleed quite a lot. I don't know if maybe if I'd left the first layer of ink to dry for a bit longer, if that would have helped. But yeah, on both of these, and particularly on this second butterfly where the ink was still quite wet, the pen did bleed quite a lot. So I thought I would try doing the liner pen first and then put the marker pen on top just to see what that would do. So I did leave it a little while to dry, but as you can see it's still smudged with the ink, which isn't surprising really, you know, it's just a water-based ink, so obviously putting something wet on it is going to smudge it. So I thought I'd have another go after having a bit of a play around and just trying it out again. But this time, rather than using the markers just to colour in, trying to do more of the kind of writing style, the Asemic style drawing, writing, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so as you can see there, I smudged the pen. So these pens are really nice and wet and inky, but you just need to be careful not to smudge them. So I did literally feel like I was just scribbling, really. So I guess that is what I'm doing, just using the pens to make marks and fill the space up. In some ways it was quite easy and freeing, but I think I found it a little hard because I do like a bit of structure and knowing what I'm doing and just randomly filling stuff in. Yeah, I struggled with that, but at the same time it was kind of fun just to play around a bit. After having another look in the Scrawler zine, I thought I would just be much freer, not worry about filling in a shape, but literally just play with the markers, with making different marks and seeing what kind of shapes and angles I could get the marker to do, and yeah, literally just play around. I have to say I do like these marker pens and I think they are going to be useful, but I'm not sure that I will use them in this way. But yeah, I think it was a good Scrawlrbox though, and you definitely got your money's worth of stuff. Apart from the pencil, I wasn't so happy with the pencil. I just thought it was too hard and I couldn't quite see how it could be classed as a B pencil, just because of how hard it was and how light it was. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do remember to give me a thumbs up and check out my other videos, and hopefully see you again soon.